Hey, everybody. Rob Cootie here. Welcome, world, to our number 26 episode of the MLM Solution Podcast Show. I'm glad to see you guys here. I'm glad to have you aboard. Thank you guys so much for taking valuable time out of your day to follow us and to watch us. Today, we got another packed show. This is really, I don't like using two things like that, like very, really. But today is going to be the last basic tactic we're going to talk about. You know, the basic fundamental principles that we teach. This is going to be the last one. I mean, there's others that we're going to talk about down the road, but they're not the ones that you need to be concerned about as you start your business. Today's going to be a packed show. It's going to talk about, it's a numbers game. I know we've touched on the numbers before, but we've never brought them all together in one episode so that you can understand how they chronologically work in unison to put you in a position to achieve something special. That's what we're going to do today in today's episode, okay? And as always, we have our nice, per lately, we've not had the gong. The speakers that I ordered for the computer are not here yet. As you know, a lot of things just slowed down. I did order them on Amazon. You think they'd be here by now. But anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's taking the necessary steps to protect themselves and their family and their friends from this virus that we're all facing. Today's a beautiful day outside. It's going to be 75 degrees, they say. I can definitely see that as a possibility. The sun's out. I'm sitting here right next to four big, beautiful windows. I think you can see them in the background. Let's see, that way. There they are. That's two of the four. Beautiful sunshine coming through. Love it. Going to be out and about today. May even cut the grass today. Anyway, I'm glad to have you guys aboard. If you will, guys, during the show, as always, give us a thumbs up if you like what you hear. Please feel free to post a comment, as I'm doing right now. We want to know what you guys are thinking, what challenges you have. Put on there, even if you have a challenge. Let us know what challenges you're having. We love to hear from you guys. Also, as always, if you will, please share, like, and comment on our various social media platforms. We love it when you do that. We're grateful that you do that. All right. It's a numbers game. Okay. That's the subject for today. All of you on the podcast. This is number 26. It is a numbers game. Network marketing is a numbers game. And we're going to be talking about critical points today. All of you on the podcast, here's the thing. Critical points, number one, is going to be you have to know the numbers of network marketing. Okay? That's what's scrolling across the bottom on the ticker. You have to know the numbers of network marketing. Why is that important? Because look, as I've stated before, you guys have to understand one very important thing. If there's nothing you learn from us, whether you use our business building system or not, here's the thing. You have to understand the business model doesn't care who you are. I've brought that up before. I don't want to rehash things. It's going to do its job. It's either going to work for you or against you. It's black and white. There's no gray area. It's not going to do a half-assed job. Okay? What it will do is, because you are out there being active, so you're doing some portion of the numbers. But here's the thing, and I'm going to clarify. When I say work the numbers, I mean you got to work them deep. You can go in and do a little bit and get a little bit of success, but it's fool's gold. It's going to fall apart. It's quicksand. The foundation you're setting is quicksand. You're going to just slowly sink until you're up to your neck, and before you realize, you say, oh my gosh, what's going on? You don't want to be in that position. It's because you're not working the numbers. Well, guess what? You won't be working the numbers if you don't know what the numbers are, right? Right? So how could you possibly do the right things if you don't know that they're supposed to be done in the first place? You don't even know what they are. You don't even know what it means. Guess what? As I said, the business model doesn't care. You've got to know what the numbers are. We're going to talk about those today. And the episode today is going to talk about, it's going to bring all of that together. Okay, I know that we've touched on these in bits and pieces, like I said earlier, but we're going to bring it together in this one episode. We're going to show in chronological order how these things work together so that you guys can finish this last episode, this last basic fundamental episode, business building fundamental episode. Walk away knowing what the numbers are and how they work together. And that's critically important to your success. I got to make that clear. I can't emphasize that enough, that it is absolutely essential that you understand that these numbers exist, that they either work for you or against you, and how they work in unison with one another. That's the importance of this episode, okay? So that's all we're going to talk about today. So the first step, the first critical point is you have to know what the numbers are, okay? And I'm going to do that now. Okay, look, we've talked about 90 days, how this business works in thirds. You got to understand that. We talked about how the 90-day mini blast is set up for that reason, okay? Is because it creates what? Speed and urgency. And we all talked about the importance of speed and urgency in your business so that you can help, or so that you can get that money ball starting to roll up that hill, okay? And that top of that hill is your lifestyle. So we talked about you've got to have that speed and urgency. The 90-day mini blast is the first thing that's going to help you number-wise. In other words, you say, okay, I'm ready to go after my goals. In the 90-day mini blast, you conduct that. It starts the numbers game. It starts the process, okay? Now, before you start, you used our sheet, the 90-day goal sheet, right? If you're not using that, you got to create one. And to be honest with you, if you create one, you're going to leave some important stuff out. I encourage you to use our 90-day goal sheet. Why? Because it highlights the important numbers that are going to work with you as you go deep into that 90-day business building process. You're now starting to see how these numbers are working together, but I'll bring it all together towards the end. You want to stick around for that. But here's the thing. First and foremost, the 90-day mini blast, it forces you to fill out the goal sheet. On the goal sheet, you're going to put down important numbers, right? And the numbers are, how many leaders do you want to have in your business? How much volume do you want to create? Okay, how many people do you want to sponsor? Okay, how much money do you want to be making? See, those are all numbers. They all work together. I know it sounds silly. I know that you may not be able to wrap your mind around it, but I'm telling you, there's a synergy. There's a magic that takes place when all these numbers start working together, and you've got to put them down on that goal sheet. And all of those numbers, which I've touched on them, but I've not told you how they work together and the magic that takes place when in fact you do that. There's a magical thing. Number one, when you fill that form out, you're crystallizing your goals. You're embedding all of that into your head. And when you constantly look at it and remind yourself of what you filled out on the 90-day goal list, it reinforces what you already have in your head, and it motivates you to continue working towards those numbers, okay? You can call them goals, but they're numbers. They're actual numbers. If you say, I want to sponsor 60 people front line over 90 days, that is a solid number. It doesn't change when you open it up, that piece of paper up the second time. It doesn't change from 60 to 59 or 58. You know what it does? It stays at 60. And it's a number that will be embedded, and it's going to motivate you to shoot for that number 60, right? Well, guess what? That number 60 is going to directly correlate to the volume that you want your business to be doing at that time. Remember, we talked about the 100 times 100, 100 people doing 100 PB per month. That helps you create that business volume that you've put in your 90-day goal list. All right? So the thing is that you now see how these numbers are all going to be working together during your 90-day mini blast. You see why I emphasize the 90-day mini blast, those first 90 days in your first 90 days in the business, how that is important and how it correlates to every other number that you're going to be working. Because without the 90-day mini blast, which creates the speed and urgency that you need to get your money ball started rolling, and then as you sponsor leaders and the leaders start to build their businesses, they help you push that ball up the hill. We've talked about that. And then once again, at the top of the hill is your goals, and then the other side of that hill is your lifestyle. So the thing is that you're putting together a team, and then it all starts with this 90-day goal list that we've talked about and the numbers we're referring to right now. So the very first important number is the 90 days, right? The other important numbers, as I said, is the number of leaders that you want to sponsor. I mean, the number of people you want to sponsor. Then the other important number that you're going to be going after is the number of leaders that you want your business to have at the end of those 90 days. The people that self-identify themselves through their activity, right? Also, you're going to have in there the group volume that you want at the end of those 90 days. And then you're going to have the monetary check that you want to be making, the amount of money, the check you want deposited into your account, the amount of money you're going to be able to count. No bonuses, no cars, no trips, just straight cash. All of those numbers are important. They all work together. They motivate you to put together a business plan that will force you to work what other numbers that we've talked about, right? Let's talk about that. Now, we just covered the important numbers that are in the beginning phase of the business building process. It's not the total numbers, okay? Now, I tied all those together before we move on to critical point number 2. Critical point number 1, we just talked about the importance of the 90-day mini blast. And we talked about all the numbers that are included in your goal sheet, which all work together to get you to the lifestyle you ultimately want. Okay, let's look at critical point number 2. For those of you on the podcast, critical point number 2, you have to work the numbers correctly and consistently. What have we been talking about? CCBBA. We're not going to rehash that, but you should know by now, by listening and watching the videos and listening to the podcast, CCBBA is an important ingredient in your success. Consistent, correct business building activity. Well, critical point number 2 here ties right into that. And if you're doing CCBBA, you are working the numbers, hopefully correctly and certainly consistently. Okay, so what are the numbers? The numbers are, we all talked about the importance of sponsoring 60 people. And you know there's a magical process that takes place when you're doing that. Anytime you're active, this number is going to be working in your favor. If you're not working this business on a consistent basis in a correct manner, these numbers are not going to help you, okay? They're going to tease you. They're going to fool you. It's fool's gold. But what are the numbers we're referring to? It's numbers that we've talked about a lot lately, but it correlates directly with what you're doing. When you're doing CCBBA activity, folks, the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, that is taking its magic and applying it to the numbers that you're working. And what are you doing? You're working the numbers. In other words, you're going through the prospects, looking for your leaders, identifying your leaders, and then working with your leaders. In that process, automatically, which we've talked about a lot lately, but we got to tie these together. This critical point number 2 is you got to have the numbers working in your favor, okay? And in order to do that, those numbers have to be done. In other words, if you say, sorry about that, and sorry about that, guys. Anyway, for those of you on the podcast, I had a scratch. I had to take my glasses off. Interrupted me a moment. If you say, I'm going to sponsor 60 people, and you don't, and you back off and only do 30 people, the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is still going to work. It's magic, but it's going to work against you instead of for you. Why? Because you didn't do enough people. And so you're not going to be able to, what? You get that money ball at the top of the hill, the money ball is going to be smaller, your lifestyle is going to be smaller, and your dream or your goals at the top are going to be smaller. Why? Because of the fact you sponsor fewer people, and the chances of finding enough superstars to build a big business that can develop the lifestyle income you want has been greatly diminished. The 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3 is still going to work its magic, but it's going to do it on a lesser scale. And so you're not going to get the results that you put down and in your 90-day mini blast, okay? Because you didn't sponsor enough people. So you see what I'm saying? Now, you may get lucky and sponsor 1 or 2 people that can create huge businesses, but the odds are not in your favor. Notice I said the word odds. You're not working the numbers. You didn't go deep enough into the numbers. 60 may be the right number for you. When you put 60 down on your 90-day goal list, you wanted to make sure that you went deep into that number. In other words, you got to 48 people out of 60, or 52 or 55 people out of 60. That is deep into that number, okay? Maybe you go past 60 into the 62. That's really deep into that number. Now the one third is really starting to work in your favor and giving you a realistic chance to achieve the numbers on your 90-day goal list and to develop the lifestyle income that you're seeking. Do you see how the numbers, this critical point number 2, you have to work the numbers correctly and consistently. So if you do that, if you start your 90-day mini blast and you go after those 60 people, you go after that 10,000 group volume at the end of the 90 days, you go after developing 15 leaders in your business over that 90-day period, you go after that income level that you identified in your 90-day goal list, you go after all those, and you can monitor that progress. We have a progress monitoring sheet that tells you exactly where you are and whether you need to step it up, whether you're on target, whether you're falling behind and falling short. That does what? That keeps you focused, keeps you motivated, and tells you where your weaknesses are and how you can focus on those weaknesses and get more proficient in building your business, making those 90 days as productive as possible. When you do that, the numbers are going to start working. They're magic, right? And the one third is critically important. It is going to do its job no matter what you do. So if you work small numbers, guys, you've got to expect small results. The one third is not going to work its magic. And you got to remember, as we have talked all the time, it's the number, there's that term again, number of what? Leaders that you have in your business that do what? That stabilize your business, that makes your business profitable, that makes it grow exponentially and they cause that huge explosion. So you want leaders, right? And what have we talked about lately? How to identify those leaders. We use what? A scale of ambition. And what is that scale? It's numbers. See how all these numbers are working together? See why I created this document, numbers, our MLM, it's a numbers game, and you don't know the numbers, okay? And one of the most important numbers, because you can do all of this, and this ties into the one third, but it's critically important that when you do your 90-day mini blast sheet, that you put down what? I tell you guys, I did a podcast recently. If you haven't listened to that or watched that video, please do so. Go to our YouTube channel and look up where I say it's all about the back end, okay? That is talking about the threshold of profitability. What is the threshold of profitability? It's a number. Once again, there's that term. It's a number. If you're not doing that number, if you're not promoting that number to your downline, if you yourself are not doing at least 100 PV in personal volume per month, guess what, folks? Your downline is going to follow your example. They're not going to do 100 PV, which means you're going to have to work your tail end off 2 to 3 times harder, as we talked about before, to have a chance to achieve your goals, okay? And you're going to work 2 to 3 times harder than someone that is using the threshold of profitability. They're going to get greater results quicker. So the threshold of profitability works directly hand in hand with the one third. So if you're not doing the threshold, and people forget about it because it's quote unquote on the back end, okay? And what is the back end? It's auto ship. All of this works together. Do you see, as we go along in this presentation or in this podcast, how all these numbers, and I encourage you to go back and listen to this podcast over and over, get a pen and paper, write this stuff down. It's critically important you understand how they all work together. That's what we're doing. This last video on the basics is critically important to your success and your understanding of how the business works. Once again, numbers are real. They're finite in nature. There's no debating the success or lack of success that you will have, because 60 plus years of these things being around have proven beyond a doubt that they will, in fact, continue to do what they do every day. Whether you do the right things or not, whether you acknowledge their power or not, they're going to do their thing. Okay, so you might as well have them working with you and for you instead of against you. I tell you that all the time. I use that term all the time. So the threshold of profitability means that you've got to be doing at least 100 PV. I encourage you to do 110, 115. Set the example. Show your people, because that extra 10 or 15% that you do can have a huge impact in your profits and in your success of your downline leaders. Okay, And leaders are not afraid of stepping up and doing the right thing. So don't be afraid to go beyond the 100 PV threshold. But if you do at least 100 PV, you're going to build, it's got built-in profitability. If you're with the right company that's using the right products, it has, and the right comp plan, obviously, it has a built-in profitability. That's the reason why you want to do the 100 PV. That extra profitability, okay, ensures that your new people and your leaders are making money. And that's what you want. Okay, once again, there's numbers. Money is numbers. They can count, even if they're dollar bills, they can count dollar bills one at a time. It's all about the money. You know that. So the money has to be there. Well, what's the money? It's a direct result of what? The numbers. It's a direct result of you doing the right things with the numbers. And as I just told you, the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is going to work its magic, whether you have whether you sponsored a lot of people or a small number of people. And if you want that income and lifestyle that you claim you want, you're going to have to go big. And I always tell you guys to go big because the numbers are going to work in your favor in a big way. I told you guys the story about Richard Call, where in 3 months he built out of massive activity, where in 3 months he built one of the greatest, biggest, and most profitable business in network marketing history in 3 short months. Now, I don't expect any of you to do that. He's one of a kind. Don't judge yourself based on that. But I'm showing you what 3 months can do when you put the effort behind and you work the numbers. He worked the numbers. He never has to work another day. He's not worked another day in his life. Okay? If that's what you're wanting, you've got to put your foot to the gas pedal and go. Not at the expense of your family, not at the expense of your job or friends. I've told you guys that. There is a proper balance. We talked about that. We'll have an episode on proper balance down the road. But here's the thing. The thing is that you are now seeing how the numbers work together. Right now, you've completed your 90-day mini blast, okay, or you're in the process of completing it, and the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is working its magic, okay? If this is making sense, please give us thumbs up. Please make comments. Let us know that this message and this information is hitting the spot, okay? Because this is critically important that you guys understand this. So any input during the show would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so that being said, we now have talked about how the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is working either for you or against you based on what you did during your 90-day mini blast. We've talked about all the numbers that relate to your success in the 90-day mini blast, have we not? Yes, we did in critical point number 1. Now we're in critical point number 2, and we're closing it up here very shortly because we have talked about how the 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3 are either going to be working their magic in a massive way or a small way. Additionally, we talked about the 100 PV. Remember, it's all in the back end. In other words, the money that you're wanting, guys, is all in the back end. You've got to endorse that 100 PV, and you got to tell people and show people why they want to do 100 PV once they understand. Because look, network marketing is a numbers game. If you can show people how the numbers work, they say, I get it. It's a numbers game. You're just showing me if I sponsor this many people, and if I do this number and that number and that number, and I do this last one, which is the auto ship on 100 PV, that all of these will work together, and it'll give me this result. Yes, yes. That's why you do 100 PV. It's a threshold of profitability. It's got profitability built into it, ensuring that you're making money, your downline are making money, and that people are going to stick around because they're happy because they're making money. I get it. I see now. And you're making progress towards your goals, aggressive progress towards your goals. And if you do $115, $110 a month, that's 10 to 15% more, which can be in a duplication process, can compound and blow the roof off this thing. You see what I'm saying, guys? The numbers. And what is 10%, 50% more? It's numbers. What is $10 and $15 more? Okay, I said if you do 110, 150 instead of 100, that's 10 to 15% more. Those are numbers. And compounding numbers is an explosive thing. It causes what? Exponential growth. Do you see how these numbers are working together? See how I'm touching on things that we didn't touch on before? Do you see the power in these numbers? Do you see how they're going to work for you instead of against you? Look, if you're doing 55 instead of 115 per month in personal volume, do you see how you're going to have to work 3 times harder just to get the same results as someone that's using and endorsing the 110, 115 per month? Okay, they're above the 100 PV threshold. Okay, that person doing 55 is going to have to work their tail end off. They're not going to get the same results. They're not going to have the same type of leaders. They're not going to have people sticking around. They're not going to have as many leaders in their business as you do. And their business is not going to be as profitable as yours. Why? Because they're below the threshold of profitability. They're not endorsing the right numbers. They're not teaching their people the right numbers. They're not explaining to their people the power of using these numbers, the positive results you can get. Okay, and like anything in life, if you want to shoot for the top, it's going to require hard work. Okay, this is not going to be easy, but it's not as hard as working 40 years day after day. It's not as hard as doing something you don't like. There's always a price to pay for everything you want in life. Thank God there is. Okay, so you just have to decide whether you're willing to go through it. And we talked about that yesterday, did we not? On the what? This scale of life, right? And when we said everybody has a quitting number, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you want to go and look at that because that's an important video and podcast, The Scale of Life. We talked about everybody has a quitting number. And you can identify your potential quitting number on that scale of life. Well, what's a scale of life? It's a number. It's a list of numbers from 0 to 10, just like the scale of ambition is. Why do we use that? And I'm not into numerology, but I understand the power and the impact of numbers, both in a negative and a positive way. Okay? So, look, we all know anything below a 0, it's got a negative DAC in front of it. In other words, negative 10, negative 20, right? That's not on the positive side. That's, if you own a business, that's not good. That's a negative number. You've got to change that. Well, it's no different here because you own a business, and that's what we're talking about. You got to be on the positive side of 100, okay, per month in order for you to have a realistic chance to do something special and to keep leaders around. And you're going to have a lot greater number of leaders sticking around because what? They're making money and they can see progress and they're working towards their ultimate goal as well. All right, so let's look at critical point number 3, okay, for you on the podcast. Critical point number 3, business model and the numbers don't care what you do. They just do their thing, okay? Look, we can talk about numbers all day long, but here's the bottom line. The business model works for those that work the business model, and the numbers are a critical part of the business model. When you join a company, typically you're sponsoring your leaders say, well, just get out there and create a mess, go out there and sponsor people. They don't tell you how many people you should shoot for. They don't tell you the importance of that number. They don't tell you why you want to do that. They just tell you to get your butt out there and to make a list of people and get out there and talk to those people. And of course, you're not using the music to their ears message, so you have no idea whatsoever why you're doing these things, the importance of the numbers, the reason that you're missing out on these people. You're blowing through your list. Nobody's interested. It's because you're not being taught the right things, right? Well, guess what? The business model is working. What is it doing? It's having a negative impact on your process. Why? Because you're not doing the right things. Okay? You're not going to attract the right people. It's not going to make sense to them. You're leading with a product instead of the opportunity for them to change their life through this financial opportunity this company offers. We've talked about that, right? We've talked about that, the episode, opportunity or product, which one to lead with and why, right? I told you why. The only way you're going to attract high quality people is to use the music to the ears message, which includes what? The opportunity for them to tap into an exponentially growing company to change their life, their situation, to make a ton of money. Okay, what does money do? It gives you options. The option to live a better life, a freer life. And what is money? It's numbers. Whether it's a dollar bill, $10 bill, $5 bill, it doesn't matter. It's a number. Okay, so the bottom line is you've got numbers working in every facet of this business. And guess what? The business model doesn't care whether you understand it or not. It doesn't care whether you use part of it or all of it. You can say, well, Rob, I can see exactly what you're saying. I understand completely what you're trying to tell me. But the thing is, I don't think all of that's necessary. I'm just going to do the numbers I think are important. More power to you. If you can make it work, good luck, and I will shake your hand. Okay? And I want you to tell me how you did it. Because the bottom line is, you've got to have the ability to utilize every number that's out there that works. These are not numbers that Rob just sat in a dark closet and drew up, or I woke up one day from this wild dream and these numbers came to me. These are proven numbers that have been around for a long time. Once again, if this is making sense, guys, give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate the input. Thank you guys for that. But anyway, once again, if you can, you want to make sure that you run in and to someone that does know the numbers, that when you get sponsored by them, you can take a deep sigh of relief saying, golly, man, that's awesome. I remember Rob talking about all this, and this person's on the same page. They're telling me, hey, this is what you need to do. This is why. Here's the numbers you want to shoot for, and here's why. Okay, we have a game plan. We can make these numbers happen for you, and this is the reason why you're doing these things. And people are willing to go through brick walls when they understand the results they're going to get if they work the numbers. That's the magic of getting people to become leaders. Because once people understand why they're doing something, what the results will be, and they say, oh, that's why you want me to do, that's the reason why you're encouraging me to sponsor this many people. That's why you're encouraging me to do 100 PV per month. Oh, I now understand what's going on. I understand this business model. I understand how it works. I understand the numbers of this business model and how they work. Okay? And you got to tell your people what? The business model doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your prior success or lack of success. The business model is going to do what it does. But you have to do your part. Okay? The magic only begins when you start your own magic. And that is doing what? Filling out your 90-day goal list and going after that, working the numbers. Okay? Guys, the business model and the numbers don't care. And here's the thing. The business model doesn't care who you are. Let's just get that clear. I'm going to clarify these two things before we go on to critical point number 4. Look, the business model doesn't care who you are, your education level, your success, anything. It does not care. Whether you can speak English or not, it doesn't care. The business model's there waiting for you to tap into it if you need to tap into it. Here's the thing. The numbers care. Because what I mean by that is this. The numbers will work, but they're going to work on a small scale. And matter of fact, as I told you early in the episode, you're staying on quicksand and don't know it. Because if you don't work the numbers or work them in a partial manner, throwing some out and using some, guess what's going to happen? You are going to, in fact, build a business foundation on a smaller scale, but it's going to be quicksand. It's going to be fool's gold. And you're going to get some success. And the fool's gold is, well, look, I didn't use all the numbers that Rob talked about. And you know what? I'm getting success. I might not be getting the big success like he talks about. I may not be making real progress towards my goals, but I'm in fact having success. I don't need to do a 90-day mini blast. I don't need that speed and urgency and stuff. I'm actually sponsoring people, and people are actually, and they're not doing 100 PV per month. Some of them doing 30, some of them doing 50, some of them doing 60. They like the product. You know what? This is working despite what Rob said. And it's fool's gold. You're right. It is working. You know, more power to you, and that's awesome. No leader is going to develop out of that. Now, leaders are used to getting results. They came to you for a reason.